How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Facebook and Twitter both virtually tanking in their stock prices. I mean, they're going off a cliff. I think Mark Zuckerberg, or at least the company Facebook, lost something like 120 billion overnight. If I'm wrong about that number, let me know in the comments. But you're talking about 18 to 19% of the stock just dropped. The same thing with Twitter. Twitter was even worse. Twitter dropped like 20% overnight. Now, the official reasons that I've seen floating around the internet, floating around mainstream media, maybe even from the companies themselves, is investor, I don't know what the word is, unhappiness, or investor, not necessarily panic, but the investors aren't really seeing what they thought they would see. Less than stellar reports coming from these social media companies, the user base not really engaging the way they should. Maybe even the user base dropping ever since this whole bot kerfuffle with the Russians and all this and that. A lot of accounts have been purged. So-called fake accounts have been purged. Real accounts have been purged as well, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So the investors are like, look, man, we're not seeing the kind of return we wanted. So we don't have too much confidence in this particular brand, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Now, these are the only two social media platforms I've heard that are going through this kind of trouble. That's not to say that they're the only ones. If they are the only ones, then it doesn't surprise me. Now, if you listen to Facebook and Twitter or any of their representatives, they'll say it's not because of their practices, their shadowbending conservatives, or any kind of opinion that does not align with their political viewpoints. Now, I'm not talking about extreme stuff, which they should be banning. I mean, if you have a look on Twitter, if you got kids, keep them away from Twitter because you got all kinds of stuff that shouldn't be on there. You got a lot of adult themed stuff. Now, this is a family show, so I won't get into it, but you can add two and two together and you know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of things on Facebook and especially Twitter that you would not show anybody if you were in any kind of way embarrassed by some of these adult themes. All right. So those things seem to just be allowed to be on a platform is not really a big deal. When you're getting into social issues, when you're getting into things that may hurt someone's feelings, conservative principles, conservative ideas, one man, one woman equals marriage, those kind of things are what gets censored, or it does not get as much engagement as it should on the platform. Now, Jack is the CEO of Twitter, if you didn't know. He put out some kind of statement and or blog post that addressed the issue of shadow banning. If you don't know what shadow banning is, it's basically when you think you are on Twitter, everything is all good, you're posting stuff, you think you're getting your normal engagement, but what happens is a lot of people can't see you. You kind of get put on I guess it's called a blacklist, and this list maybe is available to people because I think this list is used to auto block people, because I've visited people's pages. Like, prime example, sometimes I get sent some things, well, a lot of times I get sent things, and they come from people's pages that I've never been to before. And then when I click on what I've been sent by somebody, I can't see it because I've been blocked from the person's page. Like I said, I've never seen this person before. I never heard of them before, but yet I'm blocked. I think it's because of these blacklists that are somehow available that will automatically put you into a blocked state, so you can't see what's going on with them. What puts you into a block list? I don't really know. Maybe if you are a conservative, if you are a Christian, if you're white, if you're heterosexual, whatever color you are as a heterosexual Christian, maybe you get put into this block list. I'd like to know. Twitter should be a lot more transparent about that. They did put out a blog post, but in the post it's kind of vague and nebulous as always. That's one thing about these social media companies. They never really tell you what's going on. Maybe there's part of the lack of investor confidence. They don't really know what's happening. They're unsure of the direction that they're going in. And one thing about any social media company that I've seen over the past few days, weeks, and months, they will be very quick to act in a situation that makes their brand look bad from their point of view, which is generally on the left. Like I said, you can have very explicit X-rated adult stuff on the platform. That's fine. I mean, James Gunn, we know what he did. He had over 300 tweets, so-called joking about abusing kids. And by the way, talking about James Gunn briefly before we get back to the whole issue of Twitter and Facebook and the kerfuffle around their stocks dropping, I was not surprised to see the entire cast of Guardians of the Galaxy write a letter in defense of James Gunn. Now, I'm not saying that a guy like James Gunn should be, tried in a court of public opinion without having, I'm not saying you should be totally just hung up from a rope without any kind of investigation. But at the same time, how can you defend this guy? I'm not going to defend him. If you defend him, then what are you actually defending? You could say, oh, he's a good man, whatever. Okay. But this guy's obviously got some issues with some kind of fixation upon children in an inappropriate way. From what you see in the tweets alone should be enough for you to say, I can't defend him. I can't really side with him. Whether it's criminal or not is a different story, and that should be left up to a court if he needs to get brought up on charges. Like I said, he might get sent to the penitentiary when it's all said and done. That's a whole different issue. But what he said on the platform, in my humble opinion, is inexcusable, but I digress. People like James Gunn, they're allowed to be on Twitter. I've not seen him get blocked or removed or anything like that. That's fine. But many people that I know, shout out to Brandon Tatum, Blonde, a lot of these people have been either shadow banned, blocked, or whatever from Twitter for talking about basic things. Oh, shout out to my man David Harris Jr. Shout out to him. He survived the fire up there in Northern California. So did his kids and his pets. So shout out to him. But he was blocked off of Twitter for retweeting or talking about a stat as it relates to black crime. And he's black. So a rundown. You can get removed from the platform, silenced, blocked, or whatever for talking about things that actually happened, real statistics that are available from the U.S. government's website. But if you post, things that are inappropriate about children, inappropriate in general, that's okay. Maybe that's part of the reason why they dropped by 20%. There's a lot of other reasons too. I mean, people are starting to go away from the platform. There are other social media sites out there. Instagram is really going up, although Instagram is part of Facebook. I think Facebook, the normal platform, is starting to decline. One key note that I heard in the media is that these companies, Facebook especially, they're trying to focus on an older demographic that is not renewable. You need to be focused on a younger demographic because you're always able to get new people in. It's like college. Every year, you're going to have a new busload of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kids coming to college to pursue their dream. With platforms that focus on the older demographic, you're not necessarily going to get a new and eager class of people. What happens is they pretty much just, it doesn't really grow. The people that are there that are kind of older, they stay with it until they're done. You're not really going to generate that much new attention to your platform because those who are going to come behind them are on other platforms. All right. People are doing different things. They got the websites, they're on different apps, and they communicate that way. They're communicating through gaming. Discord is really going on right now. By the way, I have a Discord. I'll put that in the link below. But yeah, Facebook and Twitter may end up going away at MySpace. And nobody thought that MySpace would go away. I remember one time MySpace was the big dog. I mean, a lot of us did business on MySpace, but now look at MySpace. It's pretty much a relic, and it happened overnight. A lot of people who were on MySpace and they use it pretty regularly woke up one day and then the service was pretty much empty. Everybody was on Twitter because at that particular point in time, like 2008, that's when Twitter was really starting to gain steam. And then Facebook at the same time opened itself up to other people. I think the moral of the story here is this. If you are on the internet, on social media, you need to be constantly innovating. You can't be focusing on a demographic that cannot be renewed. And most of all, you cannot make certain segments of the population feel uncomfortable or unwanted. Just because I'm conservative, that means I get blocked. That means my views aren't shared. Jack himself, the CEO of Twitter, has been vocally in favor of far leftist ideas. Zuckerberg, not so much, but you pretty much know where he stands. These kinds of things don't bode well for the company. The average person sees what's going on. They don't appreciate it. Oh, and one last thing that I want to say, Facebook, they may have gone down in their stock revenue because of the way they treat private data. That's been the whole big thing as well. They don't really respect your privacy. They sell your data to other people. So that's the issue. Now, I understand Facebook's point of view as far as selling data. That's how they make money on ads. They don't really sell your personal data specifically, but they sell things that are about you. So when you buy an ad on Facebook, you're able to target it to certain kinds of people, not to individual persons. They can target you based upon where you live, your particular hobbies, your age, your interests. You can be targeted for an ad based on that. The problem is when you have companies that get a hold of people's personal information, their name and all this and that, and then it gets used in a different way other than what it was intended, all for the purpose of Facebook making more cash than what they have right now. So that's pretty much all I got to say. Am I surprised that Facebook and Twitter have both lost like up to 20% of their stock revenue nearly overnight? No, I'm not. It's been a long time coming. A part of me smiles when I see this because this may be a wake-up call to any social media company, not just Facebook or Twitter, that you got to treat your customers right. You got to have the right viewpoint on how to do business, and you can't necessarily overvalue yourself and think that you are too big to fail, because I think a lot of these practices that are done by social media companies like Facebook and Twitter is done because they think they can't fail. They are infallible and nobody can come to challenge them. But MySpace told you many years ago that that premise is simply not true. So what do you think? Do you think that Facebook and Twitter are losing revenue because of the way they treat their customer base, because of all the scandals, all the political stuff they're engaged in? Is that the reason? Is it a more technical issue? Is it the fact that there are other companies out here on the internet that are starting to take up some of their market share? Whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.